Hey, 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 beautiful people. It's wonderful, wacky Wednesday. It's me, Amanda, with Star Seed to Star Flower, a space where we can grow, unfold, and ascend. Welcome back. Yeah, hope everybody is doing great. Hope life is treating you lovely. These energies have been pretty crazy. It is almost a blue moon, a full blue moon, which, if you didn't know, a blue moon is when in the same calendar month there are two full moons. So that's pretty cool. So on the 31st, we will be having a blue moon, and it's in Sagittarius, which is pretty cool. I'm actually a Sag moon. So if you know, you know. It's definitely the energies that pulled me here on my adventure in Arizona. Oh, excuse me. Clear my throat. That throat chakra. Whew, I've been working on it. This whole podcast experience and adventure is opening up so much. Just my throat chakra, being seen, being vulnerable, bringing awareness and sharing my experiences and stories and, all the fun things. So, well, today I wanted to talk on something called generational curses. What do you think about that? Like our DNA, our lineage, things that are passed down to us. The crazy thing about being an 80s baby is my generation actually came to talk about um like questioning, right? Like questioning all of the things. It's not like our we accepted just because I said so, right? Everybody remember their parents saying and say, "Well, why?" And they would say, "Because I said so." But why did you say so? Because I'm the parent, right? Come on. We all remember that. We all probably had our same experiences. Um, and yeah, my generation came to question, to want the full answer and not just accept it as is, right? Just because it's passed down, just because we do the thing. So there's this story that I'm going to share with you that really brings some awareness in doing things just because everybody else has done them before and it's passed down and nobody questions. Everyone just follows suit and just does it, right? There's this story where a grandmother would make a roast every Sunday, which I think is kind of funny and ironic because my grandmother makes a roast usually every Sunday, or she did as I was growing up as a child. And every Sunday, she would take the roast, she would take it out of the fridge, she would cut the end off and feed it to the dog, right? It was a scrap. And then she would put it in the pan and cook it. And she became the great grandmother, right? And so her daughter did it, her daughter's daughter did it, and then here comes along the great granddaughter. And she says, "Hey, Grandma, why do we always cut off the end of the roast and feed it to the dog?" And the great grandmother says, "I don't know why you all have been cutting the end of the roast off and throwing it to the dog, but I did it because I didn't have a big enough pan." Right? So there's the story of just following suit and following what everybody else does because nobody asks the questions. You just do it, right? It's like a pattern. And we are all given patterns and programming and the way things are, or whatever you want to call it. And it's passed down through our genetics, lineage, DNA, family, whatever it is you want to call it, even just by observing and you pick up on things, right? So, I used to be a really big people pleaser. And I would make myself uncomfortable to please others. And I realized that came from a family passed down where you just do the thing because it's family. You just make yourself uncomfortable and just do it because it's family. Like there's this weird, why do we do the things we do and not question them? And I've always, pretty much since I was younger, I've been a rule breaker, not always following the rules, uh, kind of just making them up. You know, I would consider probably myself the black sheep, which actually, I mean, I am wearing black, but I would say I'm more of a tie-dyed sheep. I'm more of a rainbow sheep. I don't really follow the crowd. I like to do my own thing. I've always had my hair colored crazy. I got tattoos all over myself. I just, I've always kind of stood out and never really followed suit, except for the people pleasing. I realized how much of a people pleaser I was when I started having my awakening. And it was in 2019 when I really just stood up for myself in a way that nobody in my family ever had. When you have surgeries or you go into the hospital, you have a thing done, the whole family was there. Everybody was there. It was like this big thing, right? And I come from a lot of family that have had surgeries, have procedures. I also carried that within myself, um, accepting female things that were passed down through our DNA. I accepted a truth that I had endometriosis, PCOS. I even had a hysterectomy at a very young age. My grandmother had had a hysterectomy at a very young age. My mother had had a hysterectomy at a young age. And I accepted that as my truth. And when the doctor came in after my surgery and told me that my uterus was beautiful and nothing was wrong with it, I wondered, where was all that pain? Where was all that hurt? Why did I always have surgeries for this removal of this endometrial, scarring? And I realized it was an energy. Okay. It was an energy that I had accepted within myself as a truth, when in reality, it was not my truth. It was actually a false truth. And it also came down to like my great grandmother had knee surgery. My grandmother had knee surgery and my mother had knee surgery. And I always said, no, I will not accept this as my truth. This stops here. It stops at me. I won't accept it as my truth. And I never did. I never accepted that as my truth and needed to have knee surgery. I actually had a cousin who ended up accepting that as her truth, and she kept that in her DNA lineage. Take a drink of my tea real quick. So, generational curses can come in many forms. They can come through pain, physically, mentally, in your spirit, your soul, your emotions. And back to having the surgery, when I had my hysterectomy, my mother, I had lived 4 hours away, and my mother had said, I'll be there for you for your surgery. And I said, no, I don't want you here for my surgery. Actually, at the time, I even compromised and said it would be more meaningful and more helpful if you came after the surgery, like to help me, right? And that really shook her. She did not take that very well, which that's not mine. But it broke something in my family lineage of how everyone had to be there for surgeries, and it was just a thing, and it was this emotional manipulation, and it wasn't easy. I wasn't trying to do it to hurt anybody. I just needed to stand firm in my own truth of my own family. I had created my own family. I had my children. I had 3 children and beautiful friends around me. We were 4 hours away. Had a husband at the time, and it was just changing it, right? Um, so with that being said, when you have things that are passed down to you, sometimes, whether it's consciously, unconsciously, or even just your subconscious, it can just play through you until you take ownership of your truth, until you take ownership of what you will allow, what you will continue. You are the co-creator of your existence. The creator's already inside of all of us. And you in this body are co-creating and experiencing all the experiences. And with acceptance becomes your truth. With a belief becomes your truth. The thing is the word belief actually has the word lie right in the middle of it. So be careful not to let your belief become an actual lie in your reality as your acceptance. We are sovereign beings, and we get to choose how we exist, what we do, what we allow as our truth. A disease in your body is just a dis-ease of some sort. We all have it. It's part of our experience. I believe that we come here knowing what we are getting ourselves into. We actually choose our parents, we choose our lineage, we choose the hurts that we carry, because we are here to overcome those. We are here to take charge and ownership of our whole existence. We are not victims to this. Now, nobody is a victim to reality. You are here to become the victor, to overcome those things. You have a grandfather or a grandmother, somebody who's an alcoholic. It can stop at you. You don't have to pass that down. You have an addiction of some kind. You don't have to pass that down. It actually can stop with you. That is in all of it. That is in emotional distress, physical distress, mental distress, in our spirits. It is in all of it. You literally can stop that, right? Like, it's a truth, it's a choice. And it really just starts with taking full accountability for yourself, for your experience, for what you will allow will always continue. It just moving to the desert really opened that wide open for me. It set something in motion inside of me that is actually hard to explain. It's more of an expression. As I was driving here, I remember I felt like these cords were ripping out of me physically. There was no physical cord, but I felt like energetically all of this was processing and pulling out of me the closer I got to Arizona, to the unknown, right? Like I said, there was a fire ignited in my soul that I was following this thing I had never done before. My family comes from kind of all over, not really. I mean, most of my mom's side of the family is Oklahoma, and most of my dad's side of the family originated from Colorado, and Arkansas. But me growing up in my generation and my parents all stayed within an area, within like a 4 states. They never moved away. They never tried something different. I mean, outside of my dad being the Air Force, or not Air Force, the Army, and moving to Germany for a little bit, Nobody really stayed. Everyone kind of just came back to their home base, right? And I'm not saying that's wrong at all, but you can't see yourself fully. You can't really truly know who you are outside of some family restrictions that are just like given to you, passed down to you, that you've accepted as a truth, right? And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. None of it's right or wrong. But if you don't have a higher perspective of looking outside of yourself and what that is and what you allow will continue, you never will know, ever. If you rely on other people outside of you your whole life, you'll never truly know your power and what you're capable of overcoming, what you're capable of changing. And change isn't always easy. I get that. I totally get that. As a Taurus, I like my comfort zones. But then that Sag moon's like, girl, you are going on adventures. You're going to go do the thing and you're going to explore. And then that Scorpio in me is like, let's do the underworld stuff and let's feel all the feelings, but not become the feelings. And let's burn it all away, right? Like I have burned so much away in my life as, in my 40s, especially. I realize it becomes a little easier to figure out who you really truly are. And like, you're not any of those things that maybe the family says you are, or old friends, or old outdated, you know, partners, or whatever. Each day, you really should be becoming a better self. You should be becoming a better you, a new version of you. Each day is a new life. It's a literal miniature life. You are born in the AM and you die and have a mini death in the PM when you go to sleep. And so when you wake up each new day, all you really have is today. So you get to make it the best day that you want. It's also okay. You wake up sad, you wake up frustrated or struggling, but you have a choice. Everybody has a choice. What you feed will grow. Like I said in my last podcast last week, your life is a garden, and what you feed will grow, and what you starve will go. So I'm going to end this podcast today with that being said. Take charge of your life. Change your patterns, pay attention to what you are allowing, and what you want to create is only in the palm of your hands. It is in your soul, in your spirit, and it all can start with a choice. Change. Anyways, until next week, Amanda here with Starseed to Starflower. I love you all. I love myself. I hope that you are kind to yourself. I hope that you are kind to others and you enjoy your life. Until next time.